Pathaan has finally been released and stars Shah Rukh Khan, Deepika Padukone, and John Abraham. And in this movie, a member of a special unit of the army must stop a terrorist who wants to bring the end of India. I can't believe we're here. I mean, I have seen so many rumors about this movie throughout the years, 4 years in the making, but Pathaan has finally come out. I drove 3 hours to see this movie because I live in a little town in Mississippi and I had to find the nearest theater that plays Bollywood movies. I found one 3 hours away, like I said, so technically I did a round trip of about 6 hours, including the 3 hours it takes to see this movie, so it's about 9 hours out of my day to watch this film. But was it worth it? Well, let's talk about it. Well, starting off with the positives for Pathaan, and the biggest positive I can give is the casting and the chemistry that all the actors have with each other. Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika are so in tune with each other. I mean, they've done countless movies together. They have become one of the best Bollywood Geordies of all time. And, you know, it's not as good as Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. I think Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol are still #1. But man, I could put them top 5 all time. Also, it's just nice to see SRK back because it's his first movie in about 4 or 5 years. I've always loved him. It's great to see him back. He just brings a certain confidence and like charisma that just, it's irreplaceable. He truly is the king of Bollywood for a reason. So it was nice to see him come back. Also, shout out to SRK for looking the way he did in this movie. He has abs in places that I didn't even think you could have muscles. I mean, I aspire to look half of that in my age right now, let alone in my late 50s. So I applaud you, man. Whatever you did, keep doing it. You know, he put on a really good performance, but as much as I did love Shah Rukh Khan's performance, I gotta give John Abraham his just due. I never really watched that many John Abraham movies growing up. I watched a lot in the early 2000s, but his newer ones I just never got into, so I'm not technically used to John Abraham being an action star, but I like it. From what I saw, I really liked it. He plays the villain role so effectively here. So from what I can remember, he has played the villain not that many times. I know he did one in Doom. He was the first original villain, I believe. And then there was a movie with Amitabh Bachchan and Bipasha where he was like the crazy boyfriend. So he's really good at playing the villain. And I really enjoyed his character. He had a really nice backstory where he was a sympathetic villain to where you understand why he's bad. Again, you don't agree with what he's doing, but at the same time, you can't blame the guy. Now, with this being an action movie, let's talk about the action itself. This is one of those movies where you see a scene where it's like, wow, that's really hyper-realistic. That's really impressive. And then there's some scenes where you're just like, that is not how physics works. But you can't help but love it. My favorite scene by far in this movie was the train sequence that was the first scene after the interval. So Shah Rukh Khan is beating up like 20 thugs in a train, and there's no cuts. Like, it literally is a continuous shot of him beating up guys. So I really got to give credit to the movie here because you don't see a lot of like continuous shots in Bollywood films. So to see something you don't normally see in these type of movies done well is always a welcome sight. There was just so many fantastic camera movements I saw. One thing I really love that I haven't really seen people talk about is anytime somebody picked up a gun, especially early in the movie, it's like the camera was like following the gun, not exactly the character. So like if the gun went like this, you see the camera start off sideways and it would follow them. And it was so smooth and so slick and something really cool. I don't really see that a lot, so I really, really enjoyed the cinematography in this movie. There's also a cameo in the train sequence. I'm not going to spoil who it is, although if you go on Twitter, you're going to see it all over the place. But I personally will not spoil it for you. You know, that's just me being a nice person. But anyways, there is a cameo in this movie. It happens in the train sequence. It's fun. I mean, I liked it. I know what they're doing. It was a really nice cameo. They're clearly setting something up because if this movie is a success, which it looks like it's going to be, then they're possibly going to set up a sequel down the line. And hey, I'm all here for it. You just have to see it in person to truly see the magnitude of this cameo. And by the way, there is a post-credit scene at the end of the credits, so you gotta stay for that. It's a little fun, little interaction between the two. It's a nice little back and forth there, so I highly recommend it. And yes, this movie is ridiculously over the top. I know a lot of Bollywood movies. There's a lot of memes on YouTube and like everywhere you go about how over the top Bollywood and South Indian films are. And I get it. You know, being in America, our action movies are just different. Like, they're a lot more grounded. You know, when you look at something like John Wick, it's a lot more realistic. But at the same time, we do have our own version of Bollywood films, and that's the Fast and Furious franchise. I know when to turn my brain off and just enjoy the ride. And that's what Pathaan is. It's not trying to challenge you emotionally. It's not trying to, like, make you think a certain way. It's just, hey, here's a bunch of cool action sequences, have fun. And that's exactly what I did. I literally sat down for 3 hours, turned my brain off, and I just had a dumb smile on my face because I was having an incredibly fun time. I also loved, and I may be in the minority here, I loved that there are only 2 songs in this movie. And only one of the songs was shown in the movie. The other one was shown in the credit sequence. So, technically in the movie itself, we only got 1 song, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love music in Bollywood films. I like that we have the musical aspect in our films. But, when you have a high-octane action film that is just go, 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 if you have a song, it kind of stops everything. And you're just like, oh, you kind of like, if you're on this fast-paced ride, and all of a sudden you hit the brakes, it's not that fun anymore, and you gotta reset. So I like the one song they did, the Besharam Rung. I like how it's in the beginning of the film, and then you don't see anything else for the rest of the movie. It's great, and then the whole Jume Jo Pathaan, where they're like in the middle of like this gigantic place, there's like thousands of people dancing. You can't exactly seamlessly put that in the film when it's like a bunch of action sequences shooting guns, all of a sudden just doing the dance, So I'm glad that we didn't get a lot of musical sequences in this movie, because I like that they wanted the action to be the star of the movie, and they did a really good job of doing that. Now let's go to the mixed aspect. This is not a perfect movie by any means. I did enjoy this film, but there are some things that I was kind of nitpicky about. First of all, the supporting characters of our 3 leads. Our 3 leads are fantastic. They're great. It's the supporting characters where I'm a little on, because Shah Rukh Khan is part of a special unit, okay? And there's other characters. I'll be honest, I only remember one of their names. And I don't even think I got that. I think it's Raza. See, I probably got the name wrong. But anyways, they're just there. Like, you would think we would, a quick thing of like, hey, this is him, this is his backstory, blah, blah, blah. You don't really get that. So when something happens and people are dying in action scenes and Shah Rukh Khan's reacting like, no, my friend, and you're just like, oh no, what's his name is dead. So you don't really feel that emotional punch that you're supposed to feel. I just wish they took 5 minutes to just introduce the crew. Deepika just shows up and he goes, hey, this is my crew, blah, 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 and it shows like quick little backstories. That way you have some sort of attachment to them, but I had 0 attachment with them. So when they died or when something happened, I was just like, oh no. Nah. So that was just something I was a little bit nitpicky about. Now, as much as I love John Abraham's character in this movie, his overall final plan was way too convoluted. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there were so many fake outs because he's just so ahead of the curve. Like, he's like Batman in this movie, because he like has a plan and it looks like Shah Rukh Khan has foiled him, but he's like, oh wait, no, this is the real plan. And then you're just like, okay, and then he stops that plan. He goes, ha, psych, this is the real plan. I'm just like, oh my god, where is this? Like, they're looking for this item, okay? And they're like, oh, the item's here. But it's like, oh no, he tricked you, it's in that place. So then he finds it there and he's like, no, it's not there, it's actually there. And it's just like, there's so many false endings in this movie. I'm just like, why did you make your plan so convoluted, John Abraham? Again, I get it, he's a very over-the-top villain, it's a very over-the-top movie, but even me, I was just like, okay, let's pump the brakes here. And for negatives, I really only had one, and it is kind of a big negative. The CGI. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that Bollywood is starting to make a lot of strides in the VFX department. I mean, you look at a movie like Zero, that was fantastic. That was very ahead of its time. Even something like Ra 1. Ra 1 was very ahead of its time. But the CGI here was not that great. Some of the helicopter scenes were very oof. The cars flipping, some cars you could tell were not real. There were some scenes where Shah Rukh Khan's shooting a gun and you clearly see the green screen in the background. Like, it just doesn't look right. I feel bad, I don't want to, criticize this movie, but that's just the things I saw. The CGI was so not great that it kind of took you out of the movie a little bit, because some scenes looked really great. Like I said, the train sequence, there was a lot of good hand-to-hand combat scenes where I'm like, wow, that looks really good. But then you have some scenes like the end of the climax, and there was a scene in the winter. It just looked very out of place, and it kind of took you out of the movie. So that's just really the only big negative I had. I just wish that the CGI was just so much better, because it would have made the movie a lot better. Overall, guys, I did love this movie. Pathaan is a fun time. It's a great movie. People are going to enjoy it, and judging by the reviews and the audience views, people seem to like it, so I'm happy. So I'm going to give this movie personally a B+. I love the chemistry, I love the setting, cinematography, but because we don't get a lot of time with the side characters and the CGI is pretty bad sometimes, I kind of have to tone it down a little bit to a B+. But again, please enjoy this film. If you like just fun action, you just want to have a good time, this movie definitely is for you. Now, I will say, people have been saying, oh, King Khan is back, but in my opinion, he never left. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.